viewers and welcome to the Art with World. I am your host ARSHAD WAHEED. Today we are going to have a very interesting discussion on various aspects of Pakistani literature, short story, poetry, novel, criticism, research, and we have our guest today, Dr. Najeba Arif. Dr. Najeba Arif is a short story writer, novelist, poet, and currently she is heading Pakistan Academy of Letters as a chairperson. Welcome to our show, Dr.
Thank
Najeba.
you very much. It's good to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
I am good too. I was just wondering where should I start from? I mean, you have such an illustrious career. I mean, you have done a lot of work in academia, in teaching. I think you also collected various degrees as well. You did Masters in Public Administration, then Masters in English, then Masters in Urdu, MPhil, doctorate, postdoctorate, and you have almost tried all genres of literature. So, where should I start our discussion?
Well, I think it's a journey of self-discovery. So when you are trying to find yourself, you have to go into different pathways and different directions. That's why this is the variety which you can see in my works.
Did you find?
Not yet. Not yet, honestly.
Okay, we'll talk on all these things, but maybe to start with, we can just have the very usual question about your art journey. How you got interested in art, literature, your academic journey, and all that.
I was born in a very backward area of a small city of South Punjab, which is Khoshab. So at that deserted area, it's literature that gave me solace and gave me exposure to a new world which was far from that deserted area. I think my mother was the one who actually introduced me to the literature. She was a teacher of Urdu and Persian and Arabic. She was into languages. And she herself has been very much interested in poetry. And she used to go to mushairas at that time in 60s.
Really?
And she just introduced me in a very early age with the poetry of Iqbal and Hali and stories for children literature and other things. So I think this is the age when you get acquainted with the literature. You just can't get out of it all your life. This is how it started.
When did you start writing first?
Well, I wrote my first short story when I was in class 8th.
Really?
And it was published as well.
Where?
In a magazine called Hoor.
Hoor, I know.
Yeah,
I have been avid reader of Hoor for all my sisters and myself.
Yeah.
Rather, we used to struggle to get hold of it. Who gets it first? Then we would hide it unless we finish. Like Hoor, Zebunissa, Pakiza, Khawateen Digest, all these things.
So as the names were quite sacred, so we were allowed to read it. Actually, my headmistress of my high school was the one who encouraged me to get published and to send my story to Mahnama Hoor. She was the one who gave me the address and the first copy issue of Mahnama Hoor, and I sent it to them, and it was published, and it actually got a prize of 200 rupees as well.
Really?
So I was very much encouraged, of course, and that's how I started writing short stories. But later I just quit my fiction writing. As far as poetry is concerned, I wrote my first poem, my first sher verse when I was in class 7th, because we used to participate in competitions of Bazi. So we always had to memorize so many verses of classical poets, contemporary poets. So it just, we absorbed so much that we were destined to be a poet. That's how it's.
Okay, very interesting. Don't you think a lot has changed so far from the days of Hoor, if I could remember. It was a very peculiar environment in those short stories,
Yes.
very idyllic.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were in the mountains, and the cousins used to meet in summer vacations,
That's right.
and then winter days, having tea with chilgozas and all that.
That's.
So now all those things have gone.
You are right. These were the very familiar, scenes over in those short stories. But surprisingly, when I read those short stories which I wrote in early age, there was one common thing, and that was death. I myself get surprised when I read those stories. I don't know why I was so much mesmerized by this concept. All of these short stories were about death, or death was the destiny of the main characters. So there was something more philosophic in those short stories. Maybe at that age we were trying to know more about the issues of life and death and all these things.
Did you get your poetry published as well when you wrote first? Or did you recite it to someone?
No, we used to recite it in mushairas when we were in college. So we used to attend so many mushairas, and we always used to write the poetry and recite in mushairas. But it wasn't published until later.
Okay.
It was published first in Mahnama in Mujalla Fanoon, which is which was edited by Ahmaduddin Qasmi.
Quite prestigious
yes,
at
and
that time. Yeah.
we felt really honored to be published in Fanoon, but it was not much frequently published. Later, my first collection was published in 2016. The reason is I always had a view about my poetry that it's not good enough, honestly. So I thought I shouldn't get it published. Later, some friends insisted that whatever you have written, you should at least get it published until it's too late. So I got it published by selecting a small anthology of my poetry.
So what did inspire you most while you were writing poetry? What themes you wanted to write in a poetic form?
Two themes mainly, I think: solitude,
Okay.
and the social life which I observe.
Okay.
Well, I belong to a very ordinary family. No lavish things, no big names, but I have observed and experienced life at a deeper level. So this is what I have expressed in my poetry. I never thought of writing about some pre-planned themes. It's all about whatever I have been experiencing and whatever I have been going through, it has been reflected in the poetry without any pre-planned selection of themes.
Okay. We would like to hear from you if you have some translations of your
Yes,
poetry.
some of the poems have been translated by my nephew, so I can present some of them. So there is a poem, its title is, in Urdu its title is Azal Abad Ke Darmiyan.
Okay. From beginning to eternity?
Yeah. In between eternities.
Okay.
If I am ever destined to spend a day alone with myself, from dawn to dusk,
Wow.
from the moon's appearance to the last glare of the morning star, on an empty pathway with the fragrance of lost ages.
Wow, beautiful. Can you just repeat it?
Sure. From the moon's appearance to the last glare of the morning star, on an empty pathway with the fragrance of lost ages, finding ground even in crazy winds, in the foggy airs of silence, breathing in deep, dense forests, atop a high mountain, in the abandoned caves of saints gone by, on the bank of fountain of eternity,
Yeah.
in the shadows of old fig trees, in a strange village, buried, covered with the dust of time, in the shattered grave of the silent city, just a step away from the burdens of ordinary existence, in the dark extremes of time and space, in the presence of the beloved, on that side of the horizon, perishing into the beginning of a new life.
Beautiful. How
Thank
could
you.
you say that your poetry was not good enough? It's wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's pendulum.
Okay.
The Urdu name is also pendulum.
Yeah.
Poetry, music, and portraiture. Black coffee, philosophy, and high literature. Rains, solitudes, silences. The dream, the window, the fascinating playgrounds. And on this side, a swamp of waste knee high, howling helplessly in the face of Armageddon. A life smeared in the thickness of blood, on the face of which are innumerable scratches,
Beautiful.
and on the lips of which are unbearable curses.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. I was just thinking, you started writing short stories and those were published in Hoor.
Yeah.
And then you wrote poetry and that was published in Funoon.
Yeah.
So there are two different kinds of journals,
Yeah.
literary magazines. But at the same time, don't you think at that time it was part of our social environment? I mean, publishing Funoon, Nakush, Seep, Awraq was, it used to, most of the people knew about them.
Yeah.
And same is the case with these popular journals like Hoor, Zebunisa and all
Yeah.
that. It is quite different now. I mean, we have very different kind of communication methods these days.
You're right.
But I still think that was a very rich culture in many ways. We people were just tied because of these with each other because of these magazines
Yes.
and they contributed a lot in our mental intellectual development.
Exactly. Agreed. Because I think these, not only these journals, but the attachment to the literature
Yeah.
and to the literary figures was also very common. They were our heroes, and
Yeah.
we never had the passion to meet them in person, but we were really it was enough to feel them in their reading, in their writings,
Yeah.
and had a deep connection, mental connection with the writers of our time.
Yeah.
So it made us more compassionate, and I think it made us more sensitive to the issues of our
Yeah.
life, social life as well as individual life.
Yeah. So about your poetry, you mostly wrote poems. What do you think about different forms of poems these days?
Well, I believe with the passage of time, forms of verse always change.
Okay.
And I have mostly Azad Nazm, though it is a translation of free verse, but it's not the free verse the way it is in West.
Okay.
However, the Nasri Nazm, or which is actually called free verse now,
It's
is
prose
also
poem, no?
prose poems.
Yeah.
Yes, prose poems has also become the genre of the day. There are two reasons. Of course, one is mostly people say that people are not aware of the prosody, or that's why they go to the prose poems. But I believe the mental process has also changed.
Okay.
So the meter keeps you in a discipline, and it really organizes your thought. It compels you to organize your thoughts around a certain measure, or a certain how do you say it, in meter, or in a certain limitation. But as far as the time is concerned, it's a time of breaking the shackles. So this shackle is also being broken, and that's why people are more attracted towards prose poem. For the younger generation, there is another part, I must say, that they are not well aware of the classical poetry and the meter and all those limitations or all those requirements which were considered very important in classical poetry or in metered poetry.
Okay.
That's why it has become popular. But I don't think there is something bad or there is something not acceptable, which is for me, which is very common in these days. So I think it's all right if you are expressing your feelings, emotions in a certain impressive way, there is some aesthetic sense in it, there is some message in it, then it's okay.
If I could ask you, who are the poets you like most or who inspired you most? Of any language, maybe?
Well, it changed with the passage of time.
Yeah, I can
of
understand.
course, initially in my school days, I used to love Ahmad Faraz, Faiz Sahab, Ahmad Nadeem Qasmi, Parveen Shakir, all those contemporary poets. Later on, I am so much impressed by two great poets of our language, Mir and Ghalib.
Yeah.
Iqbal is not less than them, because we have read so much and we have been inspired so much by Iqbal that we cannot imagine ourselves without or just devoid of the thoughts and the poetic process of Iqbal. So these three poets have really impressed me at all times, Mir, Ghalib and Iqbal.
Okay.
I am unable to find out which one is the most closer to me. Initially it was Mir, then it was Ghalib, and Iqbal was always there.
Okay, there are so many things I have to ask you, so I should just be quick. Let's start from who are the fiction writers who inspired you most, and then we'll come to your fiction.
Quratul and Haider inspired me the most until now in Urdu. She introduced me to a new world of in my thoughts as well as in my imagination. So my imagination was moved by her writings, and my thought process also got a new pace reading Quratul and Haider. So she was my she is my all-time favorite.
Okay.
There are other people as well. I mean, throughout the time I have been reading all of great fiction writers, and all of them have impressed me in some way or another, but she is the most. Another fiction writer which I would like to mention here is Shandur Marai. He's Austro-Hungarian writer.
Okay.
And I have read only one of his novels. It's his English translation is named as Embers, and it was translated into Urdu, which I have read by Umar Memon, that is
Okay.
Angare. So I have been so much impressed by the art of fiction writing reading this novel. So I must say I'm very much impressed by that.
Okay. Coming back to your fiction writing, and this time short stories, as you have just said that in your poetry you mostly express what's happening inside you, what are your inner feelings and all that. I think your short stories also reflect that. They're kind of soliloquies,
Yes.
talking to yourself.
Yes.
An internal dialogue is going on, while outside environment you are also mentioning. So it just happened like this, or it was your conscious effort to
No,
make
it
it
just happened like this. It wasn't my conscious effort. And I believe that I have, at least for myself, I have never tried to impose something on my writings, be it the technique, be it the form, be it the theme.
Okay.
So it just comes out.
But in your novel, I think you might have adopted this technique consciously, because it's complex. It has multiple narrators, and multiple layers, and different chapters have different moods.
Interestingly, it was also not thought out. It was not
Okay.
pre-planned. It just went through the,
Okay.
I mean, as I was writing, it just ended up like that.
Okay. But it's very interesting title as well of your novel, Makhota.
Yeah.
It's a new word addition to Urdu vocabulary as well. And I guess as far as I could understand, it deals with the themes of shame, guilt, class differences, and urban-rural divide. Would you like to share some of your thoughts about your novel?
Yes, you are right. What you have mentioned, it's a part of the first part of the novel. So,
Mhm.
as you have already said that there are 3 parts. So, in the first part, this growing stage of a girl has been depicted. But in the second and third part, for as I see it, this is a question of creative process, specifically writing fiction. So, what I see now while reading this fiction after writing it, I see that I have tried to discover how do we write, and when we write fiction, where reality comes in, and how reality and fiction amalgamate to become something new, which is also reality at one end and fiction at another end. So, I am very much mesmerized by this concept of writing fiction, which is an amalgamation of reality and fiction. So, I have tried to understand this concept.
This is your new book. It's Urdu Fiction Mazahir Mubahis, right? So it's about, I mean, different kinds of discussions and about Urdu fiction. So I have heard you in last ILF session as well, and you had your views about gender questions. And the most interesting thing was that you did not care for politically correct answers. You had your independent opinion, which was good. And here is also you in your first chapters. It's about feminist consciousness about that. So I would like to hear your take on this question.
Well, the thrust of my article is that feminine consciousness should not be derived from the comparison with male consciousness.
Okay.
When we just keep the male members of the society as the touchstone or as the standard or as the measuring tape for measuring the worth of female consciousness, then we already are have lost our war. It's not war, but we have lost our case. Yes. So, I think that male and female both are independent entities, both are human beings, both have male and female characters. In some of the female characters, there are male characters which are very dominant and vice versa. So, there is no harm in accepting our female consciousness as it is, and it is definitely different from male consciousness. We need not to become a male to prove that we are equal to male. So, equality becomes a right. It is a right, and equality should be acknowledged and given to female, but equality is in the rights and in the status and in the social status. It is not about being uniform. Equality is not uniformity. So, I believe that we should not go after uniformity. We should not be, I mean, we should not prove ourselves that we are equal to men by doing all what men are doing.
Yeah.
That's what my main point is.
There is generally the discourse on this question also takes this aspect that individually they might be different, but in social dynamics they are structurally subjugated by power structures in society which do not allow women to express herself, do whatever her choices are.
Yeah.
So that is some different debate, I think.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
I am with this debate. I believe that women are really suppressed and subjugated in not only in our society, even in the
Yeah.
most developed societies, women are being exploited and they are not being acknowledged as the equal human beings.
Yeah.
Even in USA, there is no female president until now.
But at least they contest it.
Yeah. We are better.
And in your this book, I have to talk about fiction writing of Mumtaz Mufti, which is part of this book as well. And I think that was topic of your
Yes.
PhD thesis as
Yes.
well. So tell us about Mumtaz Mufti and his work.
Mumtaz Mufti was a very good writer, a fiction writer. His novel Alipur Ka Eli is one of my favorites, and his short stories are also. Whenever I read them when I was in my college days, I was really impressed. And when we shifted to Islamabad and we met him personally, in fact, he was a great human being as well. So when we met him personally, I and my husband, when we shifted to Islamabad, we knew nobody except Mumtaz Mufti. So he was the one who really gave us space to get settled in this new city, which was called City of Grades at that time, and we were at the lowest grade, which was grade 17. So we acknowledged that he was a very good friend. He was a very good man, and he was more than we see him in his fiction. However, as you were talking about the fiction, unfortunately, there is a group of writers which include Mumtaz Mufti, Ashfaq Ahmad, Qudratullah Shahab,
Ibn Shah.
which have and Ibn Shah is
Not that,
yeah,
but he was close friend
yeah.
of them. Ahmad Bashir
And Banu
was.
Qudsiya.
Banu Qudsiya.
They have been neglected by the critics. Not only neglected, but critics have not been just dealing with their fiction. Whenever they talk about them, they talk about their personal lives, their official duties, responsibilities, and their views about those responsibilities. And they do not talk about their fiction. We should focus on their fiction and try to realize how they have created their fictional world with their themes, with their linguistic eloquence, and with their style of writing. So I believe these three writers were great writers. They had a great impact on our society. We must acknowledge it. We should not neglect their fiction because of their other ideas which were not acceptable for some people.
You had another book on criticism, Rafta Ainda,
Yeah.
Literary scene of Urdu literature.
Yes.
So what is literary scene of Urdu literature?
Well, it's about different writers of contemporary age, of poets and fiction writers, and some themes. So it was my first book, which was an anthology of the articles I wrote earlier.
What do you think of contemporary literary scene of Urdu literature?
It's a very complex question. And a few days ago we had a discussion with some people. So it was agreed upon that this is a post-truth era. So everything is so confused, and making others more confused is the real agenda of the society these days. So in literature, I think there are people who are doing great work in literature, but yes, they are unable to make societal impact. That's what I believe. That in creation of literature, we are not less than any other age. We have great people who are writing in poetry, in fiction, in non-fiction, in every genre. But due to multiple reasons, there are so many complicated reasons due to which our reader is not accepting it, absorbing it, not getting influenced by it. So we are writing, and we are our readers are also the writers only. So there is a small literary circle where our writings are just roaming about. They are not going beyond that circle. This is unfortunate.
Don't you think it's too much to ask from the writers to influence and change the society? Because in our history, I mean, great people have come, great leaders, political leaders, intellectuals, philosophers, scientists. They could not change the world as we dream to change it. So writers have a very narrow space, and most of the time they are trying to discover few things, and they don't give solutions. They are mainly raising questions.
Very right. But
Yeah.
what I mean by influencing the society is not creating a revolution or by revolutionizing. It's influencing the individual. Society changes when the individual changes. Well, we as individuals, we were influenced by the writers, and we just grew up in a different personalities. If we were not aware of the writers, we were not into the literature, we have been different personalities.
Yeah.
So by influencing, I mean that writer can change the personality of the reader. This is very important.
Yeah.
By changing the personality, it means we create awareness, we create consciousness, sensitivity, a kind of wisdom, a kind of passion which is very important for the personality. And when individuals change, society changes within. It's not the revolution coming outside from outside, it's change within.
Yeah,
This
that's
is what
true.
I mean.
Right. But at the same time, in your novel, you are talking about authority or hegemony of language
Yeah.
over people's expressions.
Yeah.
So how could one influence others if there is so much hegemony and power and authority of linguistic structures?
Actually, influencing others is a general term.
Okay.
And in a very it's a sweeping statement, I must say. But this issue which I have raised in this book is that usually language is able to express the experiences or thoughts of mediocres. When there is something very individually very different, sophisticated, and something new, language doesn't have the capacity to express it. This is what I feel.
Okay.
So that's the hegemony of language, that when we express our unique ideas, they become very general,
Mundane, yeah.
mundane. Yes, that's the tragedy which I have tried to express.
And one of my favorite writers, Khalda Hussain,
Yeah.
you have interviewed her and have written about her fiction and all that. Tell something more, you might have.
She is also
Met her.
my favorite writer as well. I have met her. Well, she has created an atmosphere which is real but unreal as well. So I am very much impressed by the way she tries to internalize the things around her and then present them in a different attire. This is something very different with her. I mean, her internal life or thoughts or internal scene is so much amalgamated with the outside environment that one cannot pinpoint where her thoughts are there and where is the reality and where is the fiction. This is something very mesmerizing. Not only Khalda Hussain but Nayyar Masood has also. Nayyar Masood is also my favorite fiction writer.
My favorite too.
Yeah.
One of his short story, Taus Chaman Ki
Yeah,
Meena, I just think it's almost poetry.
Yeah, you're right.
right? And I have read his other short stories as well. He's fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. He takes us to a different world, a
Different
very
world.
different
Yeah.
world, which is far
Yeah.
beyond this reality.
Yeah.
But having said that, this is very much real. There is nothing
Yeah.
surreal in that.
Yeah. I have to ask few questions about your experience as chairperson of Academy of Letters, and it's what are you, I mean, intentions, your projects, upcoming projects, and I can see that you have almost galvanized it from before. After a long time, I saw that you had arranged a conference where so many writers from other places came, which was much different from our other conferences being held these days, which only invite showbiz people and celebrities. But you invited real writers, translators,
Yes.
poets from far off places of Pakistan.
Yes.
So it was wonderful. I must congratulate that, but I should also hear what's your experience here as chairperson, because you just came from academia and you are now having an
Yeah.
administrative post as well.
Yeah.
That's very much linked with Pakistani literature.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is great. I am honored to be the first female chairperson of this organization, and I had never thought of being a chairperson of Pakistan Academy of Letters, but I am pleased and I am honored. I have so many things which I want to do, but the one which is very close to my heart is that I want to expand the sphere of literary world. I want to reach out the people who are living in far-flung areas, who are so much writing so much genuine passion of this. They are giving the pulse of the society, but somehow they are not the part of the mainstream literary world.
Yeah.
So my desire is, utmost desire is to find out those genuine people and bring them to the limelight, to the mainstream. Secondly, I am also very much concerned about the Pakistani languages. We don't call them regional languages, they are all Pakistani languages, and people who write in those languages, they have the real experience of life, and they are expressing it in a very unique manner. Mostly they don't have colonized minds. So they are giving the true indigenous picture of our society. So I think we should acknowledge them, and we should also translate them into other languages, so that other people of other areas also can benefit of their writings. So these two things. Other than that, we have so many plans. We are right now we are about to complete a literary museum of Pakistani languages. In this museum, we are going to display about 74 languages, the script of those languages and information about them. We have
Museum
also
is something which is gone.
Yeah, but we are we are trying to preserve.
We may change its name, maybe. Okay.
Well, it's about something to display the like we have heritage museum. So heritage is always a part of us. So these languages are also a part of us.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we have, as you have mentioned, we had an award ceremony in which we invited people from all areas of Pakistan who won awards of awards for their books in past 7 years. So it was a very fulfilling experience. People from Balochistan, people from KPK, from Kashmir, from far-flung areas of Punjab, when they came here, they felt so good and they felt so honored, and I myself felt so delighted to host them here in Islamabad. That the national cohesion is the objective which we always talk about, and we listen so much about it, but it wasn't the planned thing, but when it happened we felt that national cohesion, feel of national cohesion in that event. Later we had a 2 days literary festival of youth literary festival in August. It was also a great experience. We had no budget actually. With very limited budget, we invited young people from all over Pakistan. We didn't give them travel expense, we didn't give them tickets, we didn't give them boarding and lodging, but we didn't charge them for their workshops, and we offered 5 workshops, and there were more than almost 200 young students who came from Quetta, from Khyber, from Balochistan, from all the areas of Pakistan, and they were so excited and so happy to be here. It was their lifetime memory. So we ensured that they meet all important people in living in Islamabad and Rawalpindi. So they had dialogue with all great writers of who are here in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, and they attended workshops. It was really great, and people youngsters are still writing to us that when will you arrange another event. Now we are planning a writers retreat or writers residency program, in which we will invite writers from far-flung areas, and they will come to Islamabad and live here for 10 days, and they have their time to meet people, to have dialogue with them, and to write something, just to give them an experience of this city and this side of Pakistan which they might have not seen in their far-flung areas. So this writers residency program is also very close. If it goes well, we will try to keep it, we will try to continue it after some intervals. We are also trying to have publish an encyclopedia of Pakistani languages, Pakistani literature, which may be of 10 volumes, but this proposal is still in the process of getting approval. So as soon as we get the approval from our ministry, we will be able to start it. There are some other proposals as well, for example, improving the infrastructure of this building, having more staff recruitments in this office, so that we are well equipped to do a better job. We have lately tried to get our staff members and officers promoted to next grades. So these promotions were due for last almost 18 years.
Really?
So one of our officer was promoted after 29 years.
Oh.
So he remained in one grade for 29 years. Even his increment was stopped. So we are very happy that we have been able to get this promotion work done. So there are some administrative projects and there are some literary projects. We are working on that. So many of them, but
well, congratulations on all these achievements.
Thank you very much.
So tell us something about what Academy does and what are its functions.
Academy of Letters is a federal organization which has 6 offices, 5 branch offices in all provinces, including one in Multan, and our head office is situated in Islamabad. Our main objective is to promote Pakistani languages and literature and the welfare of writers. So within this sphere, we have multiple activities which we conduct all the year. For example, we have MOUs with different international organizations of literary related to literature, and we have under those MOUs we translate books from different languages to Urdu and Pakistani languages and vice versa. Other than that, we can have cultural exchange or writers exchange program, we can have joint book exhibitions and different activities. These are the international activities which we indulge in. At national level, we publish 9 journals a year, which include 1 quarterly journal in Urdu, 1 quarterly journal one biannual journal in English, and 1 journal for children, which is also quarterly, and 1 each annual journals of all provinces in which we publish literature in different languages. For example, in the journal of KPK, we can have more than 12 or 13, 14 languages which are being spoken in those areas. We have published almost 500 titles which include books, encyclopedias, and translations of international literature into Urdu and Pakistani languages, and from Urdu to international languages. And we have a very popular series of Pakistani Adab Ki Me'mar, and we publish small introductory books about the great writers of Pakistan in all languages. So we have published almost 200 or 200 plus books in this series. We also give awards to writers, which includes very prestigious award of Kamal-e-Fan. This is given annually. Other than Kamal-e-Fan award, we give 20 national literary awards for the best books published in a year in multiple languages. We also give award to translation and to other languages, English and multiple languages. We give stipends to the writers who are in need. We have a certain criteria for giving this stipend. Our Board of Governors has constituted committees of all different provinces, and these committees, which include almost 10 to 15 members, they decide about the writers who should be given the stipends. We also give literary grants to literary organizations and bodies. So almost 35 literary organizations get grants from Pakistan Academy of Letters. So these are the few activities we undergo, and within these umbrellas we are involved in multiple activities. For example, we hold events, international seminars, national level programs, literature festivals, award ceremonies, and National Day ceremonies. Recently we have started a new program which is conducted weekly basis, that is called Chai Baatein aur Kitabein. It provides a platform to people from all walks of life to come and indulge in positive dialogue with each other. So this is there is no structured program for this event. It's a kind of informal sitting which is being held every Wednesday at 4 o'clock in our main office. So it's been very popular, and it has really created an impact, and people are happy. They have got a vent for their thoughts, for their ideas. They come here from people from paintings, from music, from theatre, from different walks of life, from radio, PTV, from acting, media, and literature as well. So they come and they talk to each other on different themes. So I think this is a very positive change which we have observed through this program.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
It was wonderful talking to you.
It's very kind of you. It was good. Thank you for having me.
So viewers, thank you for watching us. See you next Sunday, same time.